Greetings, loyalists and heretics. Welcome to Iron and Ceramite, where we once again enter the warp without an astropath.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Iron and Ceramite's Archeotech Assimilation. On this episode, I'm joined by Glenn.
Yeah.
And Dave.
Hello.
And we're going to be taking a look at the first two issues of Imperium Magazine. So who wants to tell us, what is Imperium Magazine?
Glenn. I want to tell you. Okay. Imperium Magazine is a part works by some company whose name I've forgotten.
Hachette.
That's the one. So it's a weekly mag that will eventually lead to us all having a Space Marine army, a Necron army, some terrain, and a few other bits and pieces. I think there's some Sisters of Battle, some AdMech in there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we've all gone for the premium editions, so we'll be getting some Orcs and Chaos and Nids and Tau as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really good value for money if you add up everything you're going to get. I think it's really mostly designed for beginners based on like the info that you get, but we'll go through all of that as we go through the magazines itself. But yeah, I collected the previous one, the Conquest magazine, and I think it saved about £400 or £500 just on the cost of the models and the pins.
I think it's even more on this one, if I'm honest. I think it's about between 500 and 700, depending on what sort of websites you go on. So awesome value for money.
Yeah,
definitely.
And that's exactly how we've sold it to our rafts as well. We haven't told them how much we're spending, just how much we're saving.
Saving so much.
How much is it costing? It's only a couple of quid a month. So it's pretty good though, because it's at least 80 weeks worth. They just released, they had a bit of a trial, and then they released it, and we've all received our first two issues. And then every month, every 4 weeks, we'll get the next 4, and so on and so forth, until, like the picture, we will have a nice little collection there. Obviously, every couple of weeks, we'll get some freebies. So this week, we got just the basics, clippers, a little file, some glue, and the double-sided gaming mat, which is fine. But, I mean, that gaming mat's got a shelf life of about 4 or 5 issues when you've got too many models, because it's only A4, but it does the job. And also
you get more gaming mats that you can add together, so they if it's the same as the Conquest, you'll get a new gaming mat every sort of like 5 or 6 issues, so you can sort of double them up when you've got a bigger space to fight. So as you get more stuff, you've got a reasonable area to play on, and you get some terrain 1 week, and it'll all make sense as it goes along.
Who's put this poster up yet?
No.
I tried, and I got swiftly told to take it down. I don't know where I'd put it, to be fair. Maybe as a
I got told I could stick it under the stairs with all the rest of my Warhammer stuff, but I don't think it would fit, to be fair. So it's nice, but it's a bit sort of,
it's huge
again. I think one that, and it's
teenage boys' room,
sort of aimed at beginners, young players new to the game. This would be quite a cool thing to have it on the wall. Say I was early teenagers, mid-teenagers, I might have put it on my wall, but not as an adult.
You would have put that on your wall as a mid-teenager? No,
I was a late flourisher.
Scantily clad women.
So looking at the front covers, I mean, they're pretty decent. They tell you what you're going to get, exactly what you're going to get. So for the first issue, we got the Primaris Lieutenant and the Royal Warden for the Necron, and then in issue 2, you're going to get 3 Necron Warriors. And so we'll go through issue 1, and then we'll go through issue 2. So with issue 1, there you go. You got the ruler, some extra dice to go with it. Everyone always needs dice, and then your model on the sprue, as it will be. And then the magazines are split down, once you open them up, into sections all the way through. So you'll get your collect area where it tells you what models are in the magazine, a bit of lore in the red, how to build the model you've got. The painting tutorial doesn't necessarily go with the model. It's just like a very, from what I've seen, a basic sort of step-by-step of how to actually paint a model. And then you're going to get play-by-play, which is pretty good. We'll see, teach you how to play the basics of the game. So like we said, if you're new to this, fantastic. If you're not and you're just in it for the models, it's just a bit extra.
To be honest, I thought the play bit was absolutely brilliant. I think that is such a good idea because they're using the models that you're going to get straight away, and you can play mini games that make a lot of sense. They've broken it down really well, and I think that is one of the best things of it so far. Obviously, the value for money is good, but there's a little bit of lore which was quite interesting. Don't get me wrong, but when you are a bit more experienced and you sort of you know some of the painting techniques and the building techniques, you're going to sort of skim read through that. Whereas the play thing, that's something that I consider doing with my little boy, and I think that's the sort of thing that he would enjoy. And right at the start, I'm sure me and you probably would have benefited from playing the very small games, just learning the mechanics and just sort of going through the phases. So I think that's the best thing that I found so far.
Right, so we'll blast through the rest. So the first bit I actually really liked as well. So it tells you exactly about the model. If you like me, so I've got Death Guard. I don't really know. Whenever I play against these guys and they're playing Marines, I have no idea what they're talking about. So breaking down exactly what this guy has and what things are. Again, like what we've been doing this about a year, and this has just made a few more things make a little bit more sense for me. And then also like on the right hand side, where if you're into like the narrative, you can sort of bring your model to life if you want and remember stuff. So like give him a name, titles and stuff, and then like anything like here it's like achievements for your pistol. If I play against Dave and I take out Helbreck again, I'm like, yep, nailed Helbreck right between the eyes. So that's all fun little stuff. It's just a nice little addition, I think.
Yeah, definitely a nice touch.
Yeah. And then same again for your Royal Warden. If you're going to get really into it, then that's great.
Even for me, who's been playing the game for years and years, the Necron bit, I'm definitely going to be looking at the Necron bit because I haven't looked at Necrons in maybe getting on for 10 years. So a lot of their new stuff is going to have some cool, funky weaponry that I'm going to go, okay, it's got the option to build it with this or with that. I don't know which ones those are. Look at the magazine. Right, it's got that. That's what that is. Cool. Like the sound of that. I'll jazz that on the model. So even for like experienced guys, if you're unfamiliar with the army itself, definitely worth a little skim over at the very least.
Yeah, I agree. So then, like I said, bit of lore, very, very basic for the time being. But it's just sort of give you an idea of what a Space Marine is, what a Necron is. We had a bit of a discussion in the chat trying to work out who that guy on the top was, because it says he's a Space Marine, but looking at his face, he doesn't look too loyal to me. He looks pretty heretic. But what did we say he was in the end? We worked out he's a successor of the Blood Angels.
Yeah, Angels in Carmine.
Yeah, that was some good investigating on our side to get that out. But yeah, pretty basic. But again, if you've got little young kids, like that's going to pique some interest, hopefully.
Even sort of like your entry level. And a little bit, it was interesting. A little bit was interesting. Obviously, like you said, it is quite basic, and hopefully they will sort of step it up as they go through it. But again, this is the sort of bit that I thought was really good as well. The little sort of tidbits about battles. Just
to give you a rough idea of the previous edition, and I know this edition has much more stuff in it, that, if you can see it, is just the lower bit. That is a lever arch folder.
Yeah.
All lower. That is loads of stuff. So, you know, they do end up covering every army, lots of stuff about every army as well. So yeah, that is going to be a hefty chunk of the magazines going forward.
Yeah.
So for you newish people, definitely worth a read.
Yeah. And this is good as well. Like the invasion sort of lore story we're going to get there, just to build up, like just to give the two armies a bit of purpose to what we're collecting as well. Like, take the fluff where you can get it. I like it. And then we move on very swiftly. So here you go. If you've never built a model before, this is invaluable. And if you've never painted as well, like it's a good start. Tells you the difference between certain types of paints, which I could have done with, even though there's 100 YouTube videos out there, like just something like that thrown at me when I started might have helped me a little bit.
Can I say before we move on, and I know Glenn's mentioned this previously, the Necron models were a pain in the arse to build.
Were they really?
The chess piece is, yeah. So hopefully, as we sort of go through it, I'll get a bit better at it, because the lieutenant I've done probably in a couple of minutes, whereas I spent ages trying to get the Sodom Warriors together, and it was awful.
Yeah, it's trying to push a chess piece on behind arms that you've already put on to try and keep the arms in from coming out with a peg joint. If it didn't have the peg joint, it would have been relatively okay. So I think we've got another. I think you could end up at 23. So the next 20, I will not be building that way.
And then the other part, like we were saying before, how to just set up a game with the pieces you've got, breaks it down for you. This is a very, very quick introduction, and then we'll obviously be building on this as we go. So it just tells you what you've got, like the wound markers, etc. And then it goes into the game itself. So it tells you, look, here's the models that you've got. Very basic stats on the right-hand side. So you can actually get these two models built and move them about, and you know what you're doing. And then they've set you up also almost a play-by-play of how your first sort of game should be played, just to help try and get the mechanics into your mind of how the game works. So yeah, like we said, if we had this ages ago, right, it's especially like with little ones, trying to get them involved, like two models a piece. It's better than when they see the 2,000 point armies, and we spend more time setting it up than we do actually playing sometimes. Keep their interest a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like I said, this is one of the best bits for me, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it progresses, because they've made it straight away. You can start playing with the bits and bobs you've got, and looking through the sort of additions that are coming out. It seems like they're going to try and match it all the way through.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really, really well thought out process. And I'm definitely going to try and get the kids involved with it and see how it works out. And like I say, I think for anybody starting, this is such a good way of playing, because it's bite-sized chunks. It's not going to take hours and hours like even when you're first playing a 500 point game, that can take a lot of time when you don't know what on earth you're doing. So having a couple of models each and just rolling some dice and working out the mechanics, I think it's a really, really good idea.
Yeah. The only thing I'll say, I know that we're getting binders eventually. I wish it sort of came first, because where this is all designed to sort of pull apart and keep it in sections, and you're going to, so all your play-by-plays are going one bit and all your paints go together. I wish they sent the binder out first, because my magazines have fallen apart just by opening them up. And I mean, they're just sat on a shelf at the minute, but it's the only criticism I have is I wish the binder came first, because it's sort of all just come apart now and out of order. It's a little bit annoying. But that's just me.
Is it the second or the third bundle of magazines I think you get the binder with?
Yeah.
So you won't have long to wait, because only another week or so, and our next one should be dispatched. I think it's coming out in 20. We usually come out around about the same time as the third of the 4 magazines in doors, so we shouldn't have too long to wait for them.
It's only a minor complaint. Like, it's not really a complaint. It's just that I'll put them on a shelf. But I know what I'm like. I'll end up knocking it all over the place and not knowing what order it goes. And it's just that. Not really a complaint. Cool. So that's issue 1. Moving on to issue 2. So with this one, you're going to get your starter paintbrush, your models and your bases, and a free, well, not free because you're paying for it, but your first taste of paint of Rune Lord Brass, if you're going to base your Necrons that way. So get your first layer on. Obviously, you're going to have to either be patient and wait for the next paints to come, or just go out and buy some. Like, I'm pretty sure we all are doing our own schemes and not sticking to the magazine.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be keeping the paints and using them eventually, but I've got my own scheme in mind that I had way before I even sort of knew that the paints were coming out, and yeah, I'm going to stick to that hopefully.
Yeah, and Glenn probably will never paint his anyway.
Yeah, so does Matt.
I have on my models.
Oh, you have?
And then you didn't like the scheme and then stopped it.
Yeah, no. But the 3 Necrons don't have paint on them.
Oh, well, I owe you an apology.
Yes.
You're not getting it, but I owe it to you. Right, so moving on. So like we said, you get a bit more of the same with your Necron warriors, bit of information, and you can give them a bit of your own lore. And then here we go, like, pique your interest. If you don't know anything about Necrons or want to refresh, we're going to get your first look at one of the dynasties and some information on the Silent King, which I know nothing about. So I look forward to sort of sitting down and actually reading it. And you're going to get some more Ultramarine lore as well, and just a little bit about who the Ultramarines are. So all good stuff, and like we said, relevant to the magazines and the models we're collecting. And then just a bit more of the same for your models and the next sort of steps on painting, really. A bit more equipment that you're going to need, like your paint pots.
We've gone past the beginner painting, so you didn't realize the absolute heretical thing that they have in there.
Go on.
No undercoat.
Well,
I did see that in one of the pictures, actually. Yeah.
I was just like, oh god, they're just putting 3 layers of that base coat on. Oh, that's terrible. But you know,
again, they're not going to send out spray cans, and again, they can't. So
get undercoat on a pot, you know.
Yeah, I guess. But yeah, and I can see what you're saying. But
recorded in the pot in the magazine. But aside from that, for new hobbyists out there who've only just discovered this, and I've only just discovered our pod, undercoat your models first.
Yeah, that's the one thing that they don't tell, which I find weird, because they're sort of like, just slap it on straight away. I don't see the logic behind that sort of.
Have a think about it. You look at your Marines that you originally painted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have they seen the light of day since you painted them?
No, they haven't.
So some of these models may be the same for other people, and when they learn the skills, perhaps then they'll go, oh, by the way, you should have been undercoating them.
Yeah, but you're setting someone up to fail if you're not telling them to undercoat.
Oh, I'm sure they'll be able to get relatively decent.
Like, it's the first time I've ever seen somebody put 3 coats of the same paint on, so I'm assuming it'll probably do the same job.
But it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
Same thing, yeah.
It is, and especially considering they've only give you the starter brush at this point. Put 3 layers on those goddamn Necrons with that starter brush. Oh, you'd be doing that a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
maybe that's like in issue 80. It's like, surprise! You should have been doing this all along.
Yeah.
By our next magazine.
Yeah, you can put these skills to work. So again, here you go. A few more steps on how to use your Rune Lord Brass, and then just to move on to the next sort of steps, you can use your 3 new models against your Ultramarine that you got in the last magazine. Do a little bit different. Yeah, is what it is. It's all good. And then a bit more step by step on what to expect. And then to wrap it up, there we go. That's what we're going to get in the next 2 issues at least. So hopefully you'll be well practiced by the time you get these models out. So any final thoughts on the magazine before we wrap it up?
I think it's a very good start. A very good start. I think that obviously they seem to have a target audience of build up your sort of own collection and people being very new to the hobby. But there's going to be so many people that are sort of collecting this because of the value for money like us. So I'm hoping that, like Glenn said and sort of alluded to earlier, that there's going to be some more stuff aimed at more in-depth hobbyists and people who know a bit more of the lore going forward. But very, very good start, and I'm very happy so far.
Yeah, and I'll say that in comparison to the previous run, when it was the Conquest magazine, they seem to have really, like, it was a good magazine before, whereas now it's just better. You like the little play style of the learning how to play. Each week it'll be a different mission, and it's going to be focused on the stuff that you get. So
yeah, exactly.
And as you build up, like, there's no point in the magazine when you get to like having everything you have versus everything you have from the other army. It'll always be kind of like lots of little tailored missions, designed around teaching you specific things until you get to like maybe, I don't know, 40, 50 weeks in, and then you'll have a decent amount, and they'll give you lots of little missions where you can play whatever you want to like sort of specific point limits that can also guide you in the magazine as well. Usually based around the power levels rather than the actual points, because but yeah, it's a much better magazine than what was already a pretty decent magazine. So I really want to see what they're going to do with the rest of it.
The only sad thing really is you're still going to have to go out and buy the codexes. So if you're going Ultramarines or whatever chapter you pick, you're looking at free codexes, about 75 quid on top of what we've already done.
Well, that's right. If you only go with the power level, you don't.
Yeah.
You literally will get data sheets for every single model you'll get in your collection as well.
If you need to have everything like I do, then it's going to cost you 75 quid.
Yeah. Is that including the AdMech Codex and the
no, that's not including those. I didn't even think of that.
And then the 4 codexes we've got for the premium stuff as well.
All right. Well, yeah.
You're
going to double the amount.
Remember all that money we said that you saved at the beginning of the video? It's all going on codexes and spray paint. Unsubscribe! No, I'm joking. I am looking forward to getting this. Cool. So, thanks for watching this video. Make sure to tune in for whenever we get round to the next delivery, and we'll go through the next magazines and have a look at those as well. Dave's disappeared. And he's back. So when the next magazines come through, we'll take a look at them, and obviously we'll make another video and talk to you then.
So thanks for joining us for a little review of the Imperium magazine. You can find us on Instagram for Iron and Ceramite. Drop us a hashtag Iron and Ceramite, and we'll do our best to promote any pictures you have put up there. You can also find us on Facebook, Iron and Ceramite again. We're very original with our naming. Same on Twitter. You can also find us on YouTube. We do a lot of other videos from the magazines, hobby roundups. We're going to try and get into some battle reports as well whenever we get a bit of time and some armies put together. For our non-visual listeners, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all good podcasts. Give us a like and subscribe on all of those if you can. We do have a Twitch channel, which is pretty much John playing Space Marine at the minute. That is all we've got, but we'll try and get some more games up there. If you're feeling benevolent and would like to contribute to the channel, we are on Patreon. Just search Iron and Ceramite. We're working on some rewards for our patrons, so we'll get back to you with those as soon as we have them. If you're going to be buying some models, swing over to Element Games. We've got our link in the description below, and you're going to get them at a discount anyway. So you might as well go through there and give us a little bit of kickback. Any money we do receive will be put straight back into the pod, not our pockets, so we can bring you a better product. And finally, you can find us on Combat Cards. Again, Iron and Ceramite. Come join our clan. You can chat to us on there, and you can chat to us on pretty much any other of the platforms that I've mentioned.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. See you guys on the next video.
Bye.
See you later.
As always, we would like to thank you for listening to our Iron and Ceramite podcast. If you liked us, then you can also find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and any other good podcast services. Just remember, in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war.